What's up, YouTube? Mr. Road Kid here and Yugioh Great Tornado. This will be posted on both my channels just to see which channel gets more views with this video. Whatever it does, I'll probably be using that one a little more than the other. I just keep going back and forth with both channels. But I just want to talk about today. I was watching a lot of videos on people's basically their impression of the ban list, and them talking about some decks are dead that got hit by the ban list. I just wanted to talk about my point of view a little bit. It kind of doesn't make any it's not important my point of view, I guess you could say, but I still want to give my point of view out. Every voice counts. I don't think every single deck that got hit with the ban list is necessarily dead. Just to talk about some of it. The one that was, like wow, really great, is Fishboard Blaster. I could say Fish OTK is not somewhat dead, but not necessarily dead, because you mostly, went on Fishboard Blaster. But Fog Monarchs are not necessarily dead. You still could do Caiuses, you can do, Ryza, Light and Darkness, Dragon. I've seen, builds that use Destiny Hero, Plasma, and like so many other things. I've seen a deck that used Obelisk the Tormentor in a deck. So there's a lot of other ways to play it. You just got to be more creative on it. And I think that's the key word I want to use, is being more creative with the deck. Everything that was hit on the ban list is pretty much, autopilot deck, plant synchro with Tengus and 6 hams and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing with, psychics. Same way with them. The reason I'm picking a deck, I wanted to pick a deck that was hit on the ban list, and the one I'm picking is actually, psychics, and because my master got hit, so the TG Hyper Librarian, Formula, Pot of Avarice, some cards, got hit from the, psychic OTK deck, but there's other ways to play with them. So I wanted to pick a deck, which that was the deck I picked, and I'm going to play test that deck to see how there's other ways to play it. I have a Banish Psychic deck. I'm not sure if it's not really complete. I just have a concept in mind, which I put it on my other channel, which should be on Yugioh Great Tornado channel. But none of let's not talk about that. I want to talk about my impression. Like I said, I don't think every deck that got hit is necessarily dead. Such as 6 hams. 6 hams did get hit hard. I mean, this got hit to 1, and then Sheehan down to 1. That really hit them hard. They can't search as much. You got Rhoda and 1 Smoke Signal. You have 1 Gateway. You have 1 Sheehan. It's still possible to play with them. You just do. I see more, instead of going all out crazy like they used to, more of a control 6 ham build. Going Materia Barkion and Beast and locking them down, or bringing out Sheehan and then have Materia Beast and Barkion so that you can stop all that other stuff. And this Musutami Magatama is a really good card. So if you were running 1 before, you might run maybe 2. I don't see 3, but you could run 3 because there's a lot of things that can be destroying now on. Heavy Storm is on, here. MST is here for 3. Like I said, Heavy Storm is down to 1. So, like, all those are destroying. So maybe, Musutami Magatama will be good for the build. You just gotta learn how to play the build in a different way. But those who are 6 ham players, they're die-hard 6 ham players, they're going to find a way to somewhat still play them or mix it up a little bit. You just got to be more creative. I like 6 ham being hit because I think everyone and their mother was playing 6 hams. Everywhere I went, I went to locals, I went to friends' houses, I went to other places, and, all you saw was every other table was a 6 ham build, So I was happy about that because 6 ham was probably the most expensive deck to make, to be honest with you. Sheehan was like $40, $50 when it first came out with the OT version. And, Kaizen was up there with $32, super rare. It was like crazy expensive. Now, Sheehan is a little more cheaper. Kaizen, I see it for down to like $10 now, even less. Legendary Collection 2 is going to have some common cards that are going to be coming with it for 6 ham, so 6 ham still might be playable. Just got to think of another way to play it. Same thing with plants. plants are not necessarily dead. A lot of the key cards were hit. I'm just going to talk about these are pretty much the key cards right here, I guess you could say. One debris. I mean, I never really saw two debris really being played in a deck. I saw one mostly being played because the second one most likely was like a dead draw, or you draw too many at the first turn, so it kind of sucked. Lone Fire, I definitely agree with this, but I don't agree when I have my Naturia build because I really wanted to have two of these. But that's totally fine. I'd rather have this than a lot of other stuff hit. So Lone Fire to one, can't search for another one and thin the deck out. But you still get to get what you want to look for. Hyper Librarian, pretty much a broken card. Every time player single summon, you draw a card. It had to get hit. Like I said, I didn't see it going down to, I didn't see it getting banned. I definitely saw it going down to one. Pretty much everyone else did the same way. People who didn't have Hyper Librarian, they were obviously wishing that it did get banned. But it's limited to one, which is pretty good because people were abusing two or three. Two was probably abused more than three, but two was good. Now just to have one, you still do the plays. You just got to be more. You have to be more patient with the plays instead of being very explosive. But it still it still has its great combos, which is really good. Formula Synchron. So many plays with this. Glow a Bulb, Spore, Dandy, and his fluff tokens, and all this other stuff. It would just play too much. You draw one, and if you had these two out on the field, you just draw two for no reason. Then you activate Pot of Avarice and bring 5 cards that were used basically for these, used for those, and put them back in your deck to draw 2 more cards for no reason. So, you definitely saw Pot of Avarice getting hit. Bringing it down to 1 is good. 2, it was more, everyone was running 2, to be honest. Fables were probably running 3, but every deck I knew that were going quick was always running 2, so, running it down to 1 is pretty good. It's not necessarily dead, not bannable, but it's still good. And you could always use cards like Gold Sarcophagus. Yeah, it slows you down, but this is why I like it in my Psychic build, because you get to search your stuff and you still get to special summon it. So it's pretty good like that. I like this card a lot. With my builds, you're gonna be using like Levier, the Sea Dragon, so you're getting anything removed from play like a monster, you're going to special summon it back onto your field, so it doesn't really matter, but, if you're in a pickle, and or even if you start off with Gold Sarcophagus, and you see nothing but monsters or stuff that could be helping you to, build your graveyard, go start your Pot of Avarice, search for it. In 2 turns you get to use it, unless your opponent wants to, Dark Bribe it, but you're going to draw 1 card anyways from that. So yeah, that's what I want to talk about really quick was that I'm going to probably do a deck profile after this video on another deck. I wanted to just, show you that you can still use cards like these. I won't talk about these, but cards like these in a build and still be playable. You gotta be more creative with it. And if it's not competitive, it's still a fun deck. That's what the game is about. It's about having fun with it. So that is basically it, guys. Hopefully you guys like this video. Comment, rate, subscribe, and peace out, guys.